Hi guys, welcome back to ladensercrotchets. If you're new to the channel, you're welcome. Kindly subscribe and join the family. In this tutorial, we're making a cardigan, a granny square patchwork cardigan. I used 4 colors, as you can see. Initially, I wanted to make the cardigan longer and without the hoodie, but I really love having hoodies on my cardigan, and therefore I went ahead to create a hood for the cardigan, and that meant that it was going to be shorter because I did not have the energy to do more squares and attach them. And so this is the length that I went with. I also wanted to attach pockets on the sides, but I haven't done that yet. I'll do that, but I'll not be illustrating that in this tutorial. And I'll also do a belt for the cardigan. If you enjoyed the tutorial, kindly do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. This is going to be the last tutorial for 2023, and therefore, I'll see you back here in 2024. We start off by making very many granny squares. I already have made some. We have these. Now, these particular ones are incomplete, so I'll just set them aside. Then I have complete ones. These ones are completely done. We have these two. The middle colors are different, but we're going to use them to create a pattern. I'll be showing you how to do that. Granny squares. I've made over 100 granny squares because I'm sure I'm going to need them all, or even more. As the need arises, I'll complete these ones that are not completed yet because it's only one row remaining with the chocolate brown yarn. I'll start off by showing you how to make this, and then I'll let you work your granny squares, and then we meet once we start joining the pieces together. So for this one, as you can see, these are the colors that I'm using. I'm doing this one in order to get the color because I do not have it. So I'll start off by this, followed by the mustard, followed by the chocolate brown. I'm using a 5mm crochet hook. I'm also going to need a pair of scissors and a darning needle. We begin with a magic circle, a magic ring, yeah, whatever you call it. So this is how I work my magic ring, like this, just like I work the slip knot, but then I'll not fasten. So I just pull the yarn from the middle and leave that gap open like that. Then I chain 2, and the chain 2 acts as the first double crochet. Then yarn over, insert your hook into that ring, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the remaining 2. And that's our second double crochet. Then you're going to do a third double crochet. Then chain 2. I'll make this smaller. After chaining 2, yarn over, go back into that ring, into that circle with a double crochet, and make a total of 3 double crochets. So that is 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2 again, go back into the same circle with 3 double crochets. Chain 2 one more time, yarn over, work 3 double crochets. So in total, we should have 1, 2, 3, and 4 clusters of 3 double crochets each. Now fasten your circle, make it tight by pulling that middle string. Then chain 2, insert your hook into the first chain 2, bring this end up, yarn over and pull through, then pull through to complete a slip stitch. Chain 1 and cut off the yarn. And you're done with that very first row. Cut the yarn, pull through, and fasten. So we're done with the band orange, and the first row is done. So now we grab the mustard, start with a slip knot, Then we attach at any point, at any corner. Insert your hook into this corner, then slip stitch right there to connect the yarn. Chain 2, go back into that into that gap, or into the chain 2 gap with 2 double crochets. So together with the chain we get 3 double crochets. Then chain 2, back into the same gap with 3 double crochets. Chain 1, skip over to the next gap and place 3 double crochets there. After the 3 double crochets, we're going to chain 2, then go back into that same gap with another 3 double crochets. Chain 1, into the next chain 2 gap, 3 double crochets. Chain 2, 3 more double crochets into the same gap. Chain 1, then we have the last gap, we place 3 double crochets right there. Then chain 2 and 3 more double crochets. Now to complete that second row, we chain 1, and then into the chain 2 we do a slip stitch right here. That's row 2 done. You can cut off the yarn at this point and connect another color, or you can work another row. Like in my case, I have 2 rows of the mustard, so I'm going to work row 3 by chaining 2. Start by chaining 2 and turning, and then we have these corner gaps will get 3 double crochets, chain 2 and another 3 double crochets. Then these ones that are not in the corner are only going to get 3 double crochets. So starting from here, we're going to place only 2 double crochets there. So that together with the chain 2 we make 3 double crochets. Then chain 1, skip over to the corner, the first corner, place 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 more double crochets. Then chain 1, we get into this gap. This is not a corner, so we're only going to place 3 double crochets there. Chain 1, we get into the second corner and we place the 3 double crochets shell stitch, which is 3 double crochets first, chain 2, 3 more double crochets. Then chain 1, into the next gap we have just 3 double crochets. Chain 1, the cluster of 3 double crochets and chain 2, then 3 more double crochets because that's a corner. Next we have the 3 double crochet gap, so chain 1, get into that gap and place 3 double crochets. Chain 1, get into the corner and place 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 more double crochets. Then to complete row 3, we chain 1 and slip stitch onto this stitch right here. Slip stitch, chain 1 and cut off the yarn. pull through and then fasten. Then turn your work to the other side, and then I'll grab the last color, and I'm only going to do one row with this color. Start with a slip knot. Begin from any corner. I'll begin from here, slip stitch right there, chain 2, 2 double crochets to make 3 together with a chain, then chain 2 because that's a corner, and go back into that gap with 3 more double crochets, chain 1 into this gap. So we have 1 and 2. These are only going to get 3 double crochets. Then the corner gets the shell, that is 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. Then this gets 3 double crochets only 3 double crochets. This one is a corner, and then I'll keep going to the end. So in between we only have 1 chain, so chain 1, then 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets next, chain 1, get to the corner. In the corner we have 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 more double crochets, chain 1, repeat to the end. Chain 1 at the end, then slip stitch onto this stitch, chain 1 and cut off the yarn, then pull through and fasten, and we are done with one of the granny squares. If you want them bigger, you can keep going with the rows. Just make sure that you place the shell at the corners, that is 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 more double crochets at the corners, then all the other gaps just get 3 double crochets separated by a chain 1. So I have my granny squares, so we get to attaching them or connecting them together. This is how I'm going to arrange the squares for the back panel. So I'll have, for the length, I'll have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That is lengthwise. Then for the width, I'm going to have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 5 by 8. And that I'll have used a total of 40 granny squares. I'll get 2 squares, and I want one of this shade and one of the other shade. And when we're connecting, we're going to do that from the right side. The side where we have a lot of ends, that is the wrong side, and this is the right side. So just hold the 2 of them side by side like this. Get the yarn, start with a slip knot. Get the 2 corners of the 2 squares, insert your hook into that chain 2 gap at the corner and do a slip stitch. I'll weave in all the ends at the very end of the project. Now after you slip stitch, after slip stitching, we chain 1, go back into that gap with a single crochet. Then we're going to go into the first double crochet on this side and the first double crochet on the other side. We want to join them together with a single crochet. Then the second double crochet and the second double crochet on the other side. Do a single crochet right there. A single crochet into the third double crochet and the third double crochet on the other side. We get into the chain 1 gap, and we go into that chain 1 gap and place a single crochet. So we are connecting all the corresponding stitches with a single crochet. That gets us to the double crochet stitch, and the other one on the other side, single crochet there. then single crochet into every stitch till you get to the next corner. Remember to do this on the right side of the squares. Then we get into the chain 2, and right there we place our last single crochet, and those two squares are joined like this. Then we're going to get two other squares of the two different shades, this one and this other one. Now we want them to make a pattern, so instead of placing them like this, we're going to interchange and place them this way, such that we have this pattern and that one. So now we begin from the chain 2 on this square on this side and the chain 2 on the other square. We connect them with a single crochet. Then we connect the corresponding stitches, each with one single crochet. So I'm in the chain 2, I've just done the last single crochet. We're going to continue lengthwise, and I'm going to join a total of 8 on this side and 8 on this other side. So next I'll get this, which comes to that side, then the other color comes to this side. Then I'll just continue connecting, insert my hook into this and into the other one. Make sure that you're joining from the right side of the squares. Then do a single crochet there, a single crochet to connect the first double crochet and connect to the end. Now I'll keep connecting and I'll be back once I have the 8 connected. I'm done joining for a total of 8 once you've joined to the end. If you want your cardigan longer, you can continue attaching the squares up to 10 to 12 depending on the length. At the end, I'm going to chain 1 and cut off the yarn, pull through and fasten. So now this is what we have. So we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 8. We are first going to join all the squares lengthwise, then we'll come back and join across. Now we start from where we began previously on this square. So because we want to make the pattern, we're going to get the other color and attach it right here, which is this color. Make sure you're on the right side. So we're going to attach this to the first square. Get the yarn, begin with a slip knot, get that first corner in the first corner of the square that you want to attach, slip stitch, chain one, then go back into that square with a single, into that corner with a single crochet, and we're just going to join like we've joined the other squares, or the corresponding stitches joined by a single crochet. I'm at the chain 2 and that square is joined. Next we get the other shade, this one, and we begin attaching from this square. Insert your hook into this square that's already there, the second square, then get the one that you want to attach into the chain 2, do a single crochet, then attach the corresponding stitches, then we get the next one. Begin from the third square, this one right here, insert your hook into the chain 2, get the one that you are connecting into the chain 2 and do a single crochet right there, then keep going. And now we just continue attaching the squares like that till we get all the way to the last square right here. I'll do that, then come back once I get to that point. I'm at the end, so I'll chain 1 and cut off the yarn, then pull through and fasten. Now I'm done attaching the third square. So then I'll start from the top again. From here I'll get this, then the next color, and then I'll keep going to the bottom just like I've done with the previous one. And then I'll have 4 squares on top So 1, 2, 3, and 4. After I'm done with the 4, I'll then attach a 5th one, and once I'm done with the 5, I'll be back to show you how to join now across. I'm done with the lengthwise joining of the squares. So we have the squares across. This will be the upper part of the cardigan, the upper or the lower. So then we have 5 and we have the 8 rows. Now we need to start joining across like this. We need to join on these gaps that are over here, and to do that we begin from the right hand side. Begin with a slip knot, then check this corner of the first square and the other square of the second row. Then you want to make sure that the ends, all the ends are on this side as you go. Do a slip stitch right there. Chain 1, go into that gap with a single crochet, and then we join the corresponding stitches just like we've been joining. When we get to the corner, we have the chain 2. We're going to place a single crochet on this side. Then we're going to skip over to the other side. So we are skipping over this hem and going to the 2 chains on the other side and do a single crochet. Then now keep joining the corresponding stitches. So the only difference is how you join at the corners. I'm at the next corner. Make sure you're working on the chain 2 right here. Insert your hook into it, do a single crochet. Then on the other side in the chain 2, and the chain 2 of the other square, single crochet. Then keep joining the corresponding stitches till you get to the end. we do the last single crochet, then chain 1 and cut off the yarn. And we are done with that row. So now this is what we have. We're going to move to the next one. Start from this point and join all the way down, and then I'll keep going with all the joining till I get to the end. And once I get to the end, I'll be done with the back panel. Then I'll be back and show you what to do next. After attaching all my squares for the back panel, this is what I have. So as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 squares across. Then lengthwise we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So the back panel is ready. So the next thing that we do is to work the front panels. And for the front panels, we're only going to attach 2 squares. Like this. Let me show you. So this will be the right side. And this is the wrong side with all those ends that need to be weaved in. That's the back panel. Then for the front panels, we need 2 of them. This is the wrong side of one of the front panels. You're only going to attach 2 squares, then you're going to go all the way down with 8. So you have 2 by 8, and this is the right side. 1, 2, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. You're going to attach them the same way we've attached the squares in the back panel, and you need to do 2 of these. So I have that and this. So now we're going to attach the back panels to the front panel, the back panel to the front panels. So get the back panel, spread it out such that the wrong side is facing up like this. Then get your front panels and place them like this such that, so the front panel, this is the wrong side of the back panel, and the wrong side of the front panel should be facing each other. That way. That is one. Then the other one, like so. So now you have 1 square opening in the middle, and that represents the neckline, but we're going to work a ribbon all the way around the neckline. That we're going to do later. So now we're going to connect the back panel with the front panel from one shoulder towards the neck, and on each side we're only going to connect for 1 square. So this part 1 square and 1 square on the other part. So just get your hook and yarn, and we're connecting from the right side. All the connections for this cardigan are from the right side. So get the first square on one end of the back panel and the corner square, the corner part of the first square in the front panel. Then grab your yarn. We need to start with a slip knot. Then go right in that corner of the back panel and this corner of the front panel, slip stitch, chain 1, go back into that corner with a single crochet, a single crochet to connect the first double crochet on this side and on the other side, a single crochet to connect the next double crochets, a single crochet to connect the third double crochets, then connect the chain 1 gap with a single crochet, and now we keep attaching till we get to this first corner or the end of the first square. we get to the corner, and on this chain 2 gap we're going to do a single crochet on this side, then we're going to do a single crochet on the other side right here. And that's going to be our last single crochet right after the first square. Then we chain 1 and cut off the yarn at that point, pull through and fasten. So now we have one of the front panels attached. It leaves this opening. We are leaving the opening because we're going to attach a hood to the cardigan. If you're not attaching the hood, you're going to connect for the 2 squares till you get to the end of the 2 squares. Then we turn to the other side to attach the other panel, the other front panel, and we begin from this corner. Start with a slip knot there. Put your hook through the 2 corners and slip stitch, chain 1 and go back with a single crochet, then work the single crochets till you get to the end of the first square. At the end, chain 1 and cut off the yarn, pull through and fasten. Remember, you're only joining for 1 square if you're going to attach the hood. If you're not attaching a hood, then you're going to attach till you get to this point for the 2 squares. So the 2 panels, front panels are attached to the back panel. And so next we're going to move to attaching the hood. This is the hood, and for the hood you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 squares, then 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 by 5 squares. Then holding your panel like this is the hoodie panel. You hold it like this such that you have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 squares, and then fold into 2. Fold into 2 and then join one of the side. We are joining the side that has the 5 squares and not the 4. So we are not joining this 4 but the 5 like this. So we're going to join from here to here. Start with a slip knot. Get the corner squares, the corners of the squares. Slip stitch, chain 1, and just start joining the corresponding stitches now. Make sure that you're joining from the right side. At the end, chain 1 and cut off the yarn. And now we have our hood. This is how it's going to look like. And this is the part that we're going to join to the main part of the cardigan. I'll get this hoodie and turn it to the right side like this. Then I'll get the main part and turn it to the back side. So this is the back side of the hoodie, such that we're going to start attaching from here. And then we're going to attach all the way till we get to the front part. So we're starting from the front part on this side and go all the way till we get to the front part on the other side. Starting with a slip knot. So I'm getting this square on the front panel on one side, the corner of it, and this first corner on the hood, and just attach same way we've been attaching the other pieces. I'm at the corner at the end, so I'll just do a single crochet there, chain 1 and cut off the yarn, and I'm done attaching the hood. So this is what we have from the back side, that is from this point all the way to this point. So let me turn this to the front part. So right there we have our hoodie in place. So now it's time to do the sleeves and attach them right here. For the sleeves, I joined 4 by 4. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 squares. So this folds into 2 like this to make the sleeve. I've already done the 2 of them. So we have the 2 sleeves, and now the sleeves go, one comes to this side. So when I open my cardigan like this. This is the part of the joining on the shoulders, and that part we join it with the middle part of the sleeve right there, such that when you're joining from the sleeve area, from the shoulder area, this is the shoulder part, the middle part of the sleeve is joined with the shoulder part. Then we'll have 2 squares on the back panel, 2 squares on the front panel. So now begin with a slip knot. And start from this point. So at that point we are just going to slip stitch. Then the first, let me show you. So slip stitch right here and chain 1. Now the first single crochet, we're going to go to this other side on the chain 2, and on that first chain 2 of the first square of the sleeve, and do a single crochet. Then now we just join the corresponding stitches till we get to the end of the sleeve. So now I have one of the sleeves attached, and this is how it looks from the wrong side. And that means here is the sleeve, this is the front panel. So when we fold it back in place, we're going to have something like this. So this part of the sleeve is not joined yet. We've just attached it to the shoulder part. 2 squares on the right side, 2 squares on the wrong side. Then we're going to get the other sleeve and attach it on the other side, the same way we've done this. So I'll just turn my work. And we want to attach it here. This is the shoulder part, this is the hood, and this is the second sleeve, which goes, when folded into 2, it goes to the shoulder part right there, so that we have the 2 squares on the right, on the front part, and then the 2 squares on the back panel. I'm joining from the right side, so I just turn my work like this. Make sure I'm aligning my squares correctly, the shoulder part and the middle part of the sleeve, then the first square and the second square. So I'm going to do this off camera, and I'll be back once I've joined the second square, the second sleeve. I have the second sleeve in place, and now we're going to join from the sleeve part from here through the armpits all the way to the bottom of the cardigan. So we'll do that on this side. Make sure that you're joining from the right side of the cardigan. We'll do that on this particular side, and then we're going to go to the other side and join the same way from the sleeve so from the wrist of the sleeve all the way to the armpits, all the way down to the bottom of the cardigan. Start with a slip knot. Then get that one sleeve, this one right here, so we are folding it and working from the right side, from the wrist area of the sleeve slip stitch, chain 1, go back into that stitch with a single crochet, the sleeve is joined up to the armpits, so I'm at the armpit area. So I'm just taking this part of the chain 2 and the part of the chain 2 on the other side, single crochet. Then we get to the chain 2 on the next square and the chain 2 on the corresponding square on the other side. So now I'm working all the way down. I'm at the end, so I'll just do the single crochet into the chain 2 gap at the end, chain 1, and cut off the yarn. Then pull through and fasten. And we have that one side joined from the wrist to the bottom part of the cardigan. And so I'll just turn to the other side. Then for this other side, I'll start from the bottom part and then I'll work all the way to the wrist of the sleeve. I'll do this off camera and come back once I'm done. I'm done with attaching the other side. So now we're going to do an edging at the bottom part of the cardigan, and we're going to begin from the right hand side, then work all the way to this left hand side to the other corner. So beginning from here, this, and because I feel like my cardigan is too dull, I'm going to use this color to brighten it up. So start with a slip knot, insert your hook into that very first chain 2 gap, and chain 3, turn over, skip over to the next gap, this one right here, and do 3 double crochets there. Then we're going to skip to the next gap without chaining and do another 3 double crochets. Into the next one, 3 double crochets. Then we're going to get to the point of connection of these 2 squares, and what we're going to do is we're going to place 1 double crochet onto this side of that chain 2, then 1 double crochet in this middle part, then 1 double crochet onto the other side of the chain 2. So together they make 3 double crochets in that corner. Then we move on with the 3 double crochets into every gap. Then 3 double crochets next. Three double crochets. At the point of the connection of the squares, we work just like we worked on this other one. So we're going to have a double crochet at the middle, and a double crochet on the other side, then continue to the end. So I'm just going to work like this with 3 double crochets in every gap until I go all the way around the back panel and to the front panel on this other side, and I'll meet you there. I'm in the last gap, and right there I'm just going to do 1 double crochet, then chain 3 and turn to begin the next row. We're going to begin the next row into this very first gap, and we're going to place 2 double crochets there, so that together with the chain 3 we get 3 double crochets. Then skip over to the next gap and do 3 double crochets. Three double crochets into the next gap, and we're going to repeat this to the end of row 2. Just 3 double crochets into each of the gaps. At the end, I'll place 2 double crochets into the last gap, then 1 double crochet onto the chain 3 that we did at the beginning, and that completes row 2, chain 3, and turn to begin row 3. And row 3 is our last row, and we're just going to work the 3 double crochets into each of the gaps, starting from here. Complete row 3, we do our last double crochet on top of this chain 3 at the beginning, or at the end right there. Do a double crochet, and you're done with that ribbon. Do not cut off the yarn. So this is how the bottom part of the cardigan looks like. Next we're going to do the edging from this bottom part of the cardigan all the way to the top through the hood, then all the way down to the other side until we get back here. And we're just going to do 3 rows like we've done with this part, same way. But if you don't want this type of edging, you can do a ribbon instead. From this point where I've ended, I'm going to chain 3. Then into this gap, I'll place 2 double crochets. So together with the chain 3, that makes 3 double crochets. Then I'm going to yarn over and skip this, then work into the next gap with 3 double crochets. Then I'll skip all this, then work into this next gap with 3 double crochets. No chains in between. Into the next gap, 3 double crochets. Then 3 double crochets next. The whole of this part should get 3 double crochets, so you can have 1 double crochet on one side, then 2 double crochets on the other side. The other alternative is to have 1 double crochet here, 1 double crochet here, and 1 double crochet there. Then we get into the next gap and place 3 double crochets. Then we're just going to continue, like I've told you, to the top, through the hooded part of the cardigan, and then go to the other side and work till we get to the bottom part on the other side. Then we'll do row 2 and row 3. I'll be back once I'm done with the 3 rows. Done with the edging at the front part of the cardigan, as you can see, all the way through the hoodie part. And I would be done with the cardigan at this point, but then I realized that my sleeves were a bit short, and therefore I did 5 rows of the edging. You can do this, or you can attach more squares to extend the length of the sleeve. So I've done one on this one sleeve. I'm going to do the next one. Here's the sleeve that I want to extend, so I get the yarn and start with a slip knot. Then I'll connect the yarn at this corner at the bottom of the sleeve right here. Reattach the yarn with a slip stitch. Then chain 3. The chain 3 is our first double crochet. The next double crochet will be right here, and then the third one will be on that chain 2 on the other side, so that we get the 3 double crochets cluster right there. Then I'm going to skip over to the next gap without chaining one, yarn over into this gap, place 3 double crochets, place 3 double crochets into the next gap and into all the gap all the way around. Each gap gets 3 double crochets. So next we have this. At the gap where we have the connection of the 2 squares, we work 1 double crochet on one side, 1 double crochet in the middle, and 1 double crochet on the other side. So 1 on one square, 1 in the middle, 1 in the other square. Then now we keep going with the 3 double crochets into every gap till we get to the gap before where we've started, to this gap. I'm in the last gap, so I'll do a slip stitch onto the chain 3 that I started with to complete row 1, then chain 3 and turn to begin the next row. We begin the next row in this gap that is close to the chain, and in that gap we're going to place 2 double crochets so that together with the chain we get the 3 double crochets. Get into the next gap and place 3 double crochets. Three double crochets into the gap that follows and repeat to the end. Then we're going to do row 3, 4 and 5, a total of 5 rows. And once you're done with the 5 rows, you'll be done with the extension on this sleeve, and this is what you should have. So I'll do that. Then if you want to attach pockets to the cardigan, you're going to take 4 squares. So you're going to take 4 squares and join them. Then I'm going to have the pockets 3 squares from the bottom, so I'll attach the pockets right there. I'm not sure I want the pockets, but if I do, this is where they go. The 4 pockets, then I'll just join the 4 of them, then join on this part right here till I get to the top. Now once you're done with the pockets, you'll have the weaving of the ends remaining, and this is how I weave the ends. Take for example in this square, I get the 2 ends that are close to each other and I just make a knot. Then I make a second knot and a third one. Then cut off the yarn, but then I don't cut too close to the knots. I make sure that I leave a short end right there. Then we have these 2 ends that are not very close to each other. So what I do is I get the darning needle and put one of the ends through and move it closer to the other one. I weave it through the stitches till it goes closer to the other one, just like that. Then I make a knot. The first knot is not too tight. Then I make the second knot tightly, and then a third one, a tight one, and then cut off the yarn, leaving some short ends there. Make sure that you're not cutting too close to the stitches. And this is what I have. This is the wrong side, therefore this will not be visible, but you need to cut not too close to the stitches, because if you cut too close to the stitches, the knots might unravel. Then there are those ends that are close to the points where I connected. Like this was my point of connection, meaning we have single crochets here, which means we have single crochets on the inside. So what I do for these ones is I get the darning needle and put the ends through. These ones are close to each other, so I then weave inside the single crochet stitches from the inside part of the cardigan, or from the wrong side. I weave it in, then cut off whatever remains. So I'll go on weaving all the ends, complete the sleeve. If I feel like attaching the pockets, I will, and at that point I'll be done. I do not wish to continue because this video has gotten so long. If I continue, then it may get to 2 hours, and that's not ideal. Happy holidays and happy new year. See you in 2024.